Hello and welcome. I'm Joanne Law, Director of Mediation Institute, and this webinar is part of our practice development series. It looks at developing your kit of documents and your tools of trade as a dispute resolution professional. The first part of this webinar, we had some checking in and networking. The recording starts at this point. What I have shared into the chat, something I've called the Mediators Toolkit, which is just a document that I've roughed up. It's not very fancy, but I thought it could be useful for us to look at and talk through some of these things. Now, those that trained with us will have had access to documents and templates and things like that, which I hope you accessed and are indeed ripped off and duplicated and made use of, and you might have sourced from other areas. But yeah, those sort of resources are available to members. If you don't have access, you can reach out. We're also either in the members MI Mediators Network or in our new MI members, there's a forum there. You're always able to start a conversation about something in particular. So if you've got questions about a particular type of document or something like that, that can help. But one of the things I have started from getting the work, because this is an area that often new mediators ignore and think, oh, I'm qualified now. Where are all the clients? So generally we have to do a little bit of work before they come and they know you're there. One of the things that, particularly if you're going to be putting yourself on panels and that sort of thing, a mediator's CV is a very useful tool. So generally just a one-page document that's your PDF, it's got all your contact details, a little bit of background that relates to the type of mediation that you're doing. It's not like a full CV for getting a job. It's really showing your experience, your qualifications to be a mediator, and your contact information. It's something that it's useful to provide if you have a nicely formatted document that looks very professional and people say, oh, that person looks very professional, maybe we'll have them. Can be a helpful little tool. The other document would be one about your services. So it might be a website, but again, we're a referral business. So it's often someone that needs to get the information to give to someone else. So in your context, Sue, in the NDIS, it'll be various people that are looking at the information, thinking about whether this is going to be the right thing for them. And these days, most people seem to be accessing on phones. A lot of information is accessed on phones, even business information. You check your thing and see what it looks like on your phone. It might look lovely on a big computer, but then please, thoughts, comments. Craig, how do you use yours?
Yeah, I do have a website and I've got a separate CV as well. And so just listening to you now, I'm thinking I need to update that CV. It's probably a bit old now.
Yeah, probably you did it. And I've got down here notes, to-dos and last reviewed. On the document on your computer, use a different colour, make your notes. Where's your document? Where's your links to them? So this should be just a working tool that you can keep everything at this high level together. The AMDRAS standards, if you haven't done a review since they came out, now's a good time to do that. And I've got some links and resources at the end of this document. Our obligations as mediators is we need to be clear and transparent about our process, our qualifications to mediate, our experience and all of that. Now, we're never going to lie and say I've been mediating for 30 years, but you can say I've been working in wills and estates for X number of years. I'm now working as a mediator as well. That's not deceptive in that you're not claiming that you've been mediating for all of that time if you haven't. So thinking about LinkedIn allows you to have documents you can download. Put the damn thing on LinkedIn. You don't know who's going to have you pop up in their feed and think, oh, what's this document, and download it and think, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know people did faith-based mediation. Wow, my church could really do with that. Or someone saying, oh, we're having so much trouble over the dad's estate. He does mediations. So panel websites, Mediation Institute, we've got a mediation software. It lets you upload documents. So I'd be encouraging you to update your profile, put either your about document or your CV there. So as soon as we can get some members to update their profiles and put photos and what have you, we're going to start promoting the panels out. And we want to make sure that we're able to refer to people that have the specialist area knowledge, particularly. So we do get a few inquiries already for mediators, and it's a pain in the neck. Rowena complains bitterly about it, don't you, Rowena?
Yeah, they get a lot of them at the moment.
Yeah, so make it easy for us to send you work by getting your profiles up to date. And I've got the link of where to.
I have put the link in the chat.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Referral form. So how do people refer clients to you? Do they have to ring up while you're busy in a mediation and you play phone tag, or you're making it easier than that? So paper form used to be easy to have things on paper when fax machines were a thing. Now people would have to scan and send it, which is a bit of a pain. So online forms are better. You can have a form on your website. If you've got a client relationship management software, it's probably got a form that'll put the information straight in there. If you're using a practice management software, it'll put it straight in there. Social media, you can have forms on LinkedIn and on Facebook. So if you're doing B2C, so if you're reaching out for individuals to make inquiries, then Facebook's great. There's, all sorts of groups for anything on Facebook. And if you've got a form on Facebook, it makes it easy for them to find and fill that out. So have a think about those things. There's so many free things. If you're using Google Ads at all, I'm not necessarily advocating Google Ads because I haven't had any mediators that say it produces brilliant results, but you can put a tiny bit of money on there, which gives a little bit of juice to your website. And they also have forms built into Google Ads now. So that's an option. So what are people doing as far as how do people refer or clients inquire for you?
For me, it's probably word of mouth more than anything.
Yeah.
As I am contracted to one other organisation that does the workplace mediations, so I get a few from them. But I have found my own website draws a lot of contact from people wanting FDRP, so I've just passed them all on to Interact Support.
Yes. You might have. Are you using any Google at all, AdWords?
No, I haven't found Google Ads to be that good, actually. And it's because as soon as you use the word mediation, people just click on that because they want FDRP. So yeah. I just really got no response from people who wanted other kinds of mediation.
Yeah. So some of the socials and other things like that feeding into your website might be more targeted.
Yeah. And I've tried to market on LinkedIn as well, and I haven't really had a lot of success with that either.
Yeah. So look, I think trying to get referral partners is always a better strategy for mediators than so business to business rather than business to consumer.
Yeah.
Really, it's the better strategy. So it's about having a referral form for potential referral partners. How does someone that wants to refer clients to you, how would they do that? So if it's hard for people, tend not to do it. Sue, what about you? How?
For me, I'm currently using through the NDIS provider as well as a coordinator. So we get clients coming directly through our company. And then normally if they have like family disputes from the beginning, we can know from the intake. So my boss will basically say, okay, this gift to Sue, she will do it.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. So they're coming in. Yeah. So you've got a referral pipeline happening already through your day job. So that's good.
Yes. It just sometimes I feel I wouldn't I'm not a person who want to set a fee. I have a fear on fee because I used to work with organizations. So I feel like, okay, they set the fee. That's fine. It's their fee,
Yeah.
But myself, I'm just still struggling. When am I going to start doing that on my own?
Okay. Yeah. We might need a one-on-one.
Yes.
It'll be a business coaching, I think.
Yes.
Okay. No, I imagine you didn't do your training for free, and I imagine
Yes. It's just a fear that takes control because you always pay the salary and the fee set by the professional courses and so on.
Absolutely.
So
and look, it's a very common barrier for a lot of mediators when you take that leap from being an employee, not just mediators, but particularly mediators.
Like lately, I had 2 cases. They are all people that I've known, and they asked me to give me the fee structure. I just said, I've just froze. I said, oh, I'm sorry. I will refer you to someone else because I can't take you as my friend because it's not in my interest.
Exactly. So getting your about document, which has your fees and your information, makes it a lot easier. You don't have to have the conversation and you can give them the information. And then if they know the fees, it's getting more into detail. So your documents can do your work for you.
Yeah, you got to help me with that.
And Nicole, what about you? What have you got of this getting work kit?
Nothing as yet, because I've just started a consultancy, so I've picked up heaps of work in other arms, but just starting out on mediation. And it's one of those things where I think I could be in analysis paralysis plan, but I do need to take that step to start prospecting for work, which is, where do you begin?
Yeah, you begin here. Make this
fit.
But also,
this is wonderful already.
Make my numbers, but do it.
Feel free to send us a blog post as well. We can put blog posts on our website that are written by our mediators.
So,
oh, you're wonderful. Okay.
And also feel free to, if you want to do a talk one week, you're welcome to reach out and do that. We're always looking for speakers. And promoting. We're always promoting.
Always be promoting. That's us.
Happy to do that.
Absolutely. And booking calendar. So if you're not busy, you might think, oh, there's no point. We want to make it easy for people. If you're working in other roles and you have 1 day a week you do your mediations, then you're busy all the other days and I might have a spot next Friday. That's all good. So start with low cost when you're starting. You don't need to spend a lot of money, but there are a lot of low cost or free tools out there. So I would be encouraging, put a little budget together for getting your practice up, and it might be, just to get a few bits and pieces together. But we're lucky. We don't need to print off a lot of stuff, although it can be useful. So someone like you, Daniel, because most of your referrers would be lawyers, putting together a binder with information about your mediation services can be a really good strategy with local lawyers if they don't know you, because lawyers tend to not throw paper away, particularly if it's bound. So have you tried anything like that?
I remember, some time ago talking about the binders, because people don't like throwing them away or something. To be honest, no, I haven't done that. Just picking up on what some people were saying earlier about just looking for somewhere to start. Perhaps started with a bit of an unorthodox method. Maybe it was a bit stupid, I don't know, but I think I've said this before. But when I first qualified and thought, I'll start my own practice, created a website and just very cheap and nasty, but anyway, get something out there. But I actually looked at basically there's a list you can get of all the law firms. So the Law Institute of Victoria puts out a list of all the law firms, and basically I just went through it and looked up the ones that did wills and estates work and literally wrote a letter. So old school mail out.
Works.
Because I thought, if I do a mass email out, it's so easy for people just to press the delete button. And people get sent emails all the time, or I do from time to time, from other mediators spruiking their business. And when it comes through on email, if it's someone you never heard of, I usually just press delete. So that's pretty much what I'm doing to other people in return. So I thought, well, no point sending an email. So anyway, I wrote letters and old school envelopes, stamps, did it all myself. I think I must have sent out about 300 of them. So not a huge cost. Yes, the stamps cost, but it was a bit of a numbers game. I actually got, from all the mail outs, and that was only how I started. I haven't done mail outs for a long time, but from the 300 odd that I sent out, I got 2 mediations out of it, and they were early on. So it gave me that initial, I'm actually out there, I'm doing it, I'm getting real world experience. And so risk versus return, I don't know how much I spent on stamps and ink and whatever, would have been probably under $1,000 or something. And obviously everyone's entitled to set their own fees if they're in private practice. But cost benefit, the money that was and I didn't do it for the money, it was to get a start and get some experience. But yeah, getting 2 mediations, like just to, like you're talking about, keep your costs low. So I don't have an office, I don't have any rented premises, I don't even have a PO box. So in terms of overheads, all I did was pay for a website, bought some envelopes, bought some stamps, and bought a printer. And I got 2 mediations, and I don't know, probably must have made 5 or 6 times the cost of whatever that initial startup was from the 2 mediations. And go from there, away you go. But since then, it's all, as I think other people have said, or Craig said, it's all been sort of word of mouth just from other lawyers. But that's because of the area that I'm in and that crossover that I have. So certainly getting myself out there known amongst all the Geelong lawyers. And the most recent one I had a couple of weeks ago was all Geelong lawyers, and we had it at a local solicitor's office, so I didn't have to pay for room hire, so that was fantastic. So yeah, it was maybe a little unorthodox, but that's how I got my start. So.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's a great example, and it's particularly useful if people are in a niche area like wills and estates. So with industrial relations, it may be that you tap into a database of somebody. So look at that, Craig, you could contact Diocese if you wanted to.
I have actually done that.
Yeah, but that would be a good strategy. And I think they'd be similarly receptive. The piece of paper would be going around having conversations with people, most likely. Because that's all we're looking at. Like, how do we get into people's attention? I agree with you, Daniel. I don't think emailing out is a very successful strategy.
No, but again, it's just a numbers. Like, there might be a certain proportion, but it's very low response rate. But anyway, as I thought, it was probably just a numbers game. All I needed was 1 or 2, and got a start, and away you go.
Oh, absolutely. And you don't know what recognition some of the others may have, because here's that guy, because you would have said to some of your local ones as well. So mailing a letter of introduction, that's a great one. Just looking at time, we'll move on. So now we've got those clients saying, can we do work? And then we panic and say, I'll refer you to someone else. So we want to get this stuff together too. So we need an intake form of some sort. So the type of form you need is going to depend on the type of mediation you're doing, and also who's going to be referring it. So if it's lawyers, they may just use an email. They may not be wanting to fill out a form, or they may get their clients onto doing that. But in some form, whether it's taking a phone call or whatever, we're going to need the client contact details and key issues, make sure it is an area that we work in. Like Paul Craig, they say, I want to do my family. No. Go over there. Or they might say, we don't want a divorce. We're having a really hard time. I do a type of mediation called relationship mediation. Have you heard of it? Oh, what's that like? I'll send you my information about it, but just quickly, if you've got a moment, we do a process where we meet with each of you, and then if you're both committed to the relationship, I'll proceed to a session where, when I do it, I tend to talk to people about we're renegotiating the relationship rules. Sometimes something's happened in a relationship, whether it's drifted away or a big incident, and we need to stop, check in with each other about what it is we want to give and receive in this relationship and make a new agreement. How does that sound? And they say, sounds wonderful. When can I book in? So we want our little spiel about our mediation types. And Sue, you know about what you do in the NDIS context and how important it is that you're working with a mediator who understands the system, and that's something really unique that you can bring. And here's my information about the roles. Depending, the parties may not be the person who's contacting you. Generally in your face-based stuff, Craig, it won't be. You'll have someone higher up who's aware of a problem between people within the community. Your intake forms and your information needs to cater for that depending on your context. So think through who's going to use the form, what's the flow of information you'll get from them and from others. So have a look. It might be referrer, it might be the employer. Who's going to pay? Is it going to be the employer that's paying, or the not-for-profit that administers and they'll pay eventually after they've gone to a board meeting and committee and all of that sort of thing? Your agreement to mediate, critical document for mediators. We have obligations we need to meet. Your agreement to mediate is the best way to prove that you have met your obligations, and also the best way to meet your obligations. I have my complaint handling hat on. It makes me very happy when I get the agreement to mediate that everyone's signed to show that the information has been provided. We want to provide the information verbally and check in with people as well, but having a written document makes a big difference. So signatures for all parties, any information required. So double check the AMDRAS. If you're an FDRP, double check the FDR regulations. Regulations are being rewritten at the moment, so when the new regs come out, we'll have to all go and grab all our documents and double check. The same thing now with the AMDRAS. We're in a transition period. You can be using whatever you're using, but it's time to just pull out your documents and make sure they are meeting the requirements. You must have information about how they can make a complaint, and it's easy to have that in a small section on your or provide feedback. And again, tools like Google Forms and things like that are really easy to collect feedback from clients. You can just create a little form that's free and have a link. From complaints, generally just have a little section saying, if you have any issues or concerns, please get in contact. If it's not able to be resolved, my complaint handling body is Mediation Institute or whatever, and a link to the website. That's all you need to do to be compliant, to show that you're meeting those requirements. But having a method for people to escalate a complaint is mandatory for mediators and FDRPs. Confidentiality agreement.
Sorry, Joanne.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, do you have any, I know you just said a couple of sentences, but is there any template wording that you've got, or is there a template mediation agreement where we can pinch those couple of sentences and put it in?
I'm just going through an update on our ethical standards and practice standards, and I'm going to create a little draft. So I should have that out in a week or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I haven't got that in mind. But if it's part of the new requirements, then I better get it in there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it definitely is. It actually was the requirement of the old one. So yep. You can provide it in other ways. It could be on your website or whatever. It's just, if it's in your agreement to mediate, no one can say they didn't provide me any information about the complaint handling. If you have other people who are normally part of your mediation, then you might have a standalone confidentiality agreement for them, or you might just have an additional page on your normal agreement to mediate that you get them to sign. Depends on how frequent. So you'd probably have yours incorporated, Daniel, because you almost always have lawyers there.
That's stock standard in mine at the end, the confidentiality agreement. Yep.
Yeah, where others it may be infrequent that you have other people, but if you're having support people, you want them to sign a confidentiality agreement as well. Sue, you might have support people fairly often, I'd say, as well. Making sure everyone's aware of their role, your payment information and payment methods, terms and conditions, your fees, contingencies. So what happens if you cancel? What happens if they cancel? What if they're a no-show? All the normal policies and terms and conditions that you need to have as a business, really. Often we don't think of that. We just say, this is my fee, my hourly rate. Yeah, if you're going to be hiring a room, if you're doing face-to-face mediations, how's the cost of that going to be apportioned? Generally, I'd recommend that you have something saying that normally each side pays for their fee. Other arrangements are available. It doesn't affect the impartiality of the mediator. We don't care who pays. It's not going to mean that someone bought the mediator and we're working for them. So I think it's nice to have something somewhere that just clarifies that, if it's common for one side to pay the full fee. Workplace, usually they'll pay. With the agreement to mediate, if it is some context, you might have a more complete formal one for the people that are paying, and a less scary one for the actual participants. I think Inverio do that with their workplace mediation, Craig. They've got a pretty simple little 1 or 2 page form, don't they? Yeah. That you talk through with the people during the pre-mediation. Yeah. So think about your context. Information tools and techniques. Actually, I wanted to show you this, and we don't really have to be boring about it. You've probably seen this from IPE, I think, Craig. Just bear with me a moment, I'll pull it up. Everything we discussed. Wait. And this might be something that could work in your context, Sue. Everything we discuss today is confidential. The goal is to find a solution that works for everyone involved. I encourage you to listen to each other carefully and speak openly but respectfully. Let's work together to find a path forward. Shall we begin? Facilitate an open and respectful conversation between you. I'm not here to take sides or make decisions, but to guide you through a process where you can both express your perspectives and work toward a mutually beneficial. Everyone involved, I encourage you to listen to each other carefully and speak openly. Let's work together to find a path forward. Shall we begin? I'm not sure that your lawyers would cope with that, Daniel, but I thought it was lovely. What did you think?
Is that on someone's LinkedIn profile, is it? Or
that's IPE, yeah. IPE, sorry. He does a lot of mediation in Central Australia, and yeah, so he's got his Mediator car, and he's got a video test when he's out working, and he's quite innovative. So I don't know, he's probably got AI to help him with that, but hopefully a little bit of inspiration for things don't always have to be in a particular way. For those that are starting out, it really improves your confidence if you've got all your stuff ready. And the idea isn't to be, we don't want that paralysis of, oh, where's everything gone? Stop share. It's hiding. No. I moved it down so it was hiding at the bottom of my page. Yeah, so are there any other sort of documents in your kit that others are using? So we've talked about those agreements up front. You need some sort of pre-mediation assessment tool. You want to collect and collate the information related to risk screening and client preparation. Having a structured process means that you're doing the same thing with both parties, which is part of making sure your process is even-handed. We're as subject to bias as anyone else, so cognitive biases can come in, and we don't ask certain questions of people because they're presented so nicely and they were lovely to us and all of those things. Whereas if we've got a form, it prompts us, it gives us an excuse to ask those difficult questions and avoids a very well put together but nasty person from sneaking through. Again, on paper, electronic, if you're using software, it's probably going to be built in. Is the client going to self-report? Are you going to gather some of that information from the clients beforehand? Or are you going to gather all of that information? So thinking about your process and how much you can streamline it. Most of us don't mediate full time. A lot of mediators are doing other things as well because we do other things, or because we don't want to mediate the full time, or because we haven't stepped out of our day job. Time's important. We need to look at how our documents and tools can streamline for us. Agreement template, again, useful thing to have because it contextualizes the context. So workplace, you'll often have something around that. Oh, I didn't mention in workplace, you generally there's some confidentiality negotiations that happen. So the workplace may get a copy of the agenda, whether people attended, and the agreement, but we need to tell the parties because they need to, when you're negotiating what's on the agenda and when you're negotiating the wording of the agreement, they need to be reminded that someone else might be looking at it. So we need to contextualise all of this stuff. Again, feedback forms online. Generally, there's some more complex stuff there. I didn't really mention about the information you're collecting. Daniel, you'll be collecting a copy of the will and the other information. So again, context matters about all of that stuff. So you might have a checklist of the information they need to provide before the mediation. That you provide to the lawyers, who should know very well what they need to provide, but sometimes send it at 11 o'clock at night the night before. So you might have your deadlines. You need to get this in by X. So FDR, most of us here aren't FDR, but we need parenting plan templates or tools like that because people don't know what they don't know. It's much easier for a document to bring up things that we know they should ask about rather than us bringing them up for the first time, because it can be perceived as favouring or whatever. My preference is have my tools work for me in that way. Same as the financial disclosure, family violence, or if you're working in elder abuse or other context, standardised. Are you going to use software? Are you going to self-build your own form? So all of those decisions need to be made. So AMDRAS, as I said, go through that. I did a little document that's pulled all of the stuff out of the appendices and put it into form. That's a links there, so you can use that to have a look. For FDRs, the Attorney General's Department's got very good fact sheets, and we should go back to our regulations as well. Support networks, connect with other mediators. I'll show you mine if you show me yours and compare some of your documents. If you are working in a legal context wherever you're working in some shape or form. So we do need to keep on top of changes that are happening there. In NDIS, there's work trying to, in elder mediation, all of that sort of area. So keeping on top of that. We're not providing legal advice, but we also want to make sure that the process isn't abused. And if we're completely ignorant of underlying things, we can't necessarily reality test properly or use that. And technology tools. Didn't really get onto those as much out of time, but maybe we can have a bit of a longer discussion elsewhere about tools that people are finding useful and collate that. Sorry, I talked too much this time. Any other thoughts or comments? Anything that was jumping out at you with missing?
I've been using Calendly, and I feel really, really helpful to organise those appointments with people.
Yeah. It's a good tool. It can take payment as well. The whole process can be streamlined there, send out documents. The same thing, we're just implementing a mediation for it goes a little bit further than that, but yeah. Anyone else using Calendly or another scheduling software? Just generally just send out some, it's pretty low cost. Is it $15 a month or?
Mine, I think, is $40 a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Might be.
But it's really effective because all my different calendars from all the different things I do are all connected in. And so everything's organised. I don't have to worry about doubling up appointments or anything like that. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, if there's one thing to do is go and do it. Getting a calendar to rule them all is a very good one. And whether you use a paid one like that or even feeding them into a Google Calendar, most calendars will feed in, Outlook, whatever. Yeah, making it easy for people to book you and know when to put in an appointment, very useful. Any final thoughts from you, Daniel, Sue, or Nicole, quiet in the back?
No, I've just been having a look at Craig's website in the background, and yes, it's very professional, looks great, and puts mine to shame.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, you're doing a
I
good
might have to get some tips on, because you've got all sorts of things there. You've got blog, newsletter, resources.
Yeah.
Yep. All sorts of topics. Yep. So no wonder you're getting some traffic, because there'll be so much SEO just in the background there that if people are doing all sorts of searches, I can see you've got a family dispute resolution tab and having a look through all the information you've got there. So yeah, no wonder people are getting directed to your website just given the information you got on there. So good tool.
Thank you.
Absolutely, and that's the critical thing. If you are running a website, you've got to feed it. It's like a garden. If you don't water it, you don't feed it, you don't put content there, it's going to just be a cost. But yeah, and those of you you've all got backgrounds that give you some niche information that'll be unique, which means Google will love you. And with AI these days, you use it for your first draft. Obviously you're never going to put up something that AI's written without. It's going to need adjusting. And Rowan, how do you tell AI what to do?
So you put in your prompt, whatever you want to prompt, and then you say to it, please clarify with any questions before giving me the answer.
And it's amazing.
It'll ask you 4 or 5 questions about, like, maybe the tone of what you want to write about, the audience that you're trying to reach, finding your niche market as well, finding out how to promote a product. So there's what the one prompt that you do is, please clarify any questions.
And the difference in what you get. And so that gives you can give you a really good first draft. And then you go through and
there's certain words that you don't want people to know that you've used AI. Like, you can credit AI that you've used it, but a lot of the time, like, it's just there to prompt how you should write an article.
Absolutely, because it's quite good at getting a fair bit of information in a concise format, which I'm what is it, word salad? So yeah, there's a lot of tools coming out to make it easier for us, but if you want to be found, you've got to be findable. That's the bottom line. And then when you're found, you've got to make it easy so we don't freak out, the mediator, and we can easily get them the information even when we're busy. Self-serve's best, but if you got the time and you can have a quick chat and then send them out some information that confirms for them that you're a real person and you're useful, that'd be good. Excellent. So hopefully,
and always feel free to contact me if you need help with website stuff as well, because I do the MI website.
She's our marketing manager and all around full of ideas and inspiration and assistance. And of course, if you don't have a Canva account, it is such a good tool.
It's $160 a year.
Yeah, for a professional version, and it's got unlimited royalty-free images, because never, I need an image, I'll just Google one. Never do that.
If you do that, credit that you've got it from a website
and make sure it's
royalty-free.
Yeah, there are some organisations that put out images and then chase up if you use them. That happened to one of our mediators, so I know about this. And it's quite scary. Excellent. Okay, have a great evening. Hopefully that was helpful. I hope you write all over those little tools. And
thanks everybody. Great to see you.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks everyone. Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you.